So Trump went to China. It was a big deal. He had a meeting with Xi Jinping, and all of the major American networks sent their anchors to Beijing to report on the summit, all except for the practically defunct CBS News.
President Trump is in the air heading to China tonight for a high-stakes and highly anticipated summit with President Xi Jinping. Starting tomorrow, Tony Dokoupil will anchor from the region.
So as you saw in that clip, it was said that Tony Dokoupil, the anchor of CBS Evening News, would be reporting from the region. He did not say China, he did not say Beijing, and the reason for that very deliberate diction was that Dokoupil, despite having months to prepare for this meeting, failed to get his visa in time. So he reported on the summit between the American and Chinese leaders from Taiwan, and there could not have been a worse place for CBS to send Dokoupil to. Honestly, if he couldn't be where the action is, what was the point of him going anywhere at all? The whole point of the broadcast was to broadcast from where the action was. It was not in Taiwan, but geopolitically, if they had to choose literally anywhere else to broadcast from, Taiwan should have really been the last choice. As you all know, CBS has undergone a MAGA makeover ever since Bari Weiss took over the network. Tony Dokoupil has only been the anchor of the storied CBS Evening News for a few months, but those few months have been riddled with humiliations, many of which have been the result of a network experiencing an overhaul in real time. Veterans have either been sacked or resigned from their positions, and Bari Weiss, despite having no experience working at a major news network, is reportedly taking a hands-on approach to leadership, something that has proven disastrous during on-air broadcasts. Dokoupil, who came from CBS Mornings, had been flirting with MAGA publicly since before Weiss took over, and while he seems to be doing his best with what he has to work with, there is little sympathy for his frequent on-air gaffes and embarrassments because he is still the guy who chose to take a job that he was not qualified for at a network that was actively being bought out by MAGA. He chose to be the public face of the desecration of freedom of speech and press, all while invoking the respected name of his predecessor, the great Walter Cronkite. The ratings have been falling ever since Weiss and Dokoupil took over the network, especially with the key 25 to 54-year-old demographic that advertisers pay the most attention to. And it's hard to imagine the network's new multi-billion-dollar owners care much about advertising dollars, but it does speak to the long-term destruction that one administration can do. Anyway, sending Dokoupil to Taiwan instead of Beijing just goes to show how little competency there is remaining at that network. Anyone who knows anything about geopolitics, especially as it pertains to China, knows that China claims Taiwan as their own. A CBS source told the New York Post on the matter that sending Dokoupil to Taipei was a cover your move for the network. This is possibly the dumbest decision in the history of broadcast news, the source said, adding that Beijing will be furious when he anchors from Taiwan, which they claim as part of their territory. It's not only stupid to be in Taiwan, it's a red rag to a bull to the Chinese, the person remarked. It's very sloppy. The trip was announced months in advance. It feels like there's no adult in charge. So let's see how things went for Dokoupil once he finally made it to Taiwan.
And finally tonight from Taiwan, as President Trump and China prepare to meet, you will hear a lot about American decline and the rise of a powerful new China. The Chinese certainly, is he okay? We're going to take a quick break. We have a medical emergency here. We're calling a doctor.
Call the doctor, please.
So I'm going to sign off for Tony Dokoupil, who's been reporting in Taiwan. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back.
CBS later confirmed that the cameraman on set suffered a medical emergency at the time, and he is now recovering. And while it is somewhat admirable that Dokoupil was concerned for the well-being of a member of his crew, there is still a way to deal with these things while you're on the air, especially as you're reporting on a historic summit. As one network television executive told the Daily Beast, it was, quote, amateur, amateur, amateur hour. And to make matters more awkward, while rival networks were able to get live footage of Trump in China, DeKoppel had to attempt to make Taiwan interesting, almost as if it was an intentional choice for CBS to broadcast from there. At the beginning of the broadcast, DeKoppel acknowledged on the surface it might look like all the action is over there, referring to Beijing. But if you zoom out from the state visit, you see one of the most important geopolitical stories of our time. And the big question tonight: will China, under Xi Jinping, try to take over Taiwan, risking war and economic catastrophe? This is what could happen here on these shores and in these streets if Xi decides to invade. So in the midst of the CBS chaos, an actual summit did take place between Trump and Xi Jinping. This happened at a time when outlets are now regularly opining that the American president is no longer the most powerful man in the world, but the Chinese president now is. There have also been rumors swirling around the meeting saying that China is hoping to leverage Trump's incredibly, historically low approval ratings and the overwhelming lack of support for his war in Iran against Trump and the US in negotiations. Furthermore, Trump flew to China on Air Force One, along with Elon Musk, Tim Cook, and Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA. So if that is not the most blatant indication that this country is now an oligarchy, then I don't know what is. So here's what Trump had to say about his time with Xi.
How were your talks, sir?
It's great.
Did you talk about Taiwan,
Great
Mr.
place.
President?
Incredible. China's beautiful.
And in other news, RFK Jr. assisted on an open heart surgery. Sort of. It's still weird, but that is it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.